What's up everybody, Swillow here, and today we are doing a long-awaited review for Pirate Warriors 4. So this is going to be like an overview slash review. I'm doing it live stream of course, and I'm going to talk about this game. And there's a few different things I'm going to compare it to while talking about it. So I'm going to compare this to other games in the Pirate Warriors series. I'm going to compare it to other Muso games in general. I'm going to compare it to even action beat 'em up style games in general, and other anime games. Even though I'm not the most fluent in One Piece, I know a bit about it, and I'll talk about as much as I can. So let's get right into this. First off, let's talk about the different modes that are available. First we have Dramatic Log. This is your story mode, and Free Log is basically the same thing as Dramatic Log, it just lets you use all the characters. So let's just go into Dramatic Log and look at this. So the approach that they made to this game versus the previous games, yo, what's up, Raz? Is that there's less arcs in this game, but each arc is more fleshed out. So let's just kind of go in here. Each arc in this game has like anywhere from like 5 or more missions, whereas in previous games the arcs were a little bit shorter. They had like a few missions each. So as you can see here, you have your standard cutscenes once you start your Dramatic Log. You know, story in anime games is always interesting because you've probably already seen it all. So we're just gonna watch this just so you can see how a cutscene plays out in this story mode. Yo, what's up, Lollipop?
イーストブルーの名だたる強者や海賊たちを倒したルフィは3000万ベリーの賞金首となっていた。長い航海に備えるために立ち寄った町ローグタウンで海軍大佐白陵のスモーカーに追われたがなんとか振り切りイーストブルーを後にする。俺はオールブルーを見つけるために俺は海賊王。
Yo, what's up everybody? So what you can see in this game is that they use the in-game, they kind of use the in-game engine. You know, in some other anime games, they'll actually just like rip off they'll like make the story mode of clips from the actual anime. So at least in this, they kind of use the in-game engine. Put a little bit of work instead of just cutting the anime up and putting it as a montage for the story mode.
アラバスタ王国王女ビビと出会う。バロックワークスによる内乱を止めたいと願うビビを祖国に送ることに決めた一味だったが、ナミが高熱を発して倒れてしまう。そこでビビは一つの提案をする。一刻も早くナミさんの病気を治して。
So I'm gonna skip this for now. You've kind of seen like enough of what a cutscene looks like in this game. So let's just get right into an actual mission. When you start a mission in story mode, you get to pick characters. You get to pick from a limited selection of them, of course, based on who was present in the actual story. So when you pick your characters, you go to the briefing screen. You can move the loading screen around. And let me just talk about story mode a little bit. The story mode in this, in my opinion, is better than some of the previous Pirate Warrior games because it's more dynamic in design. So in the past Pirate Warrior games, the story mode used to be a bit more flat, and I don't know, you just kind of wanted it to be over. And that's how I felt, at least. Like Pirate Warriors 3, I wasn't very fond of the story mode, and especially if you had to 100% the story mode, some of the side objectives were really brutal to complete. So in the story mode here, they don't have any brutal side objectives, but it is pretty challenging still. Like, it's not like a easy breeze through. So as you can see, we have some in-game dialogue as well. But you know, the story mode here is just it's more interesting in my opinion. They have some really nice set pieces, the maps look nice, the actual battle sequences are nice. Marineford was crazy, I'm not gonna lie. Marineford was really hype. Yo, welcome for Brazil, everybody. I love all the international support and showing up here. Yo, Saz, you finally catch me live? Well, you caught me at a perfect time because we're going to be going over what this game's all about. So let me just skip a little of this. You have your various objectives. It's Muso. So if you played Pirate Warriors, if you played Muso, a lot of this is very familiar. So let me explain kind of some of the different elements in this game. We have the growth map. So the growth map in this game is really different from some of the other Muso games because there's no longer level ups in this game. You don't gain experience points and level up. This is actually almost more similar to the oldest Muso games. You know, like when you had to beat an officer and they would drop a little attack up or defense up, like Dynasty Warriors 2, Dynasty Warriors 3 type of stuff. This game almost goes back to that in a sense. So you're beating officers, you're getting coins, and then you're using your coins to directly power up separate stats. So the stat system is not using like a traditional level up like some of the more recent Muso games, but actually goes back to the beginning of Muso where you're leveling up separate stats. And as you can see, these islands each have different stats that you can raise. You know, you got your stamina, attack, defense, life, stuff like that. You can also learn different abilities. It just depends on the character, of course. Each character kind of has something a little different from other characters. So you have all these different things, and I think this is kind of cool, the way they did the character progression and upgrade. The only thing that's not so cool about it is the amount of time it takes to actually go through and upgrade everything one by one. There's a lot of upgrades on here, and it's really time consuming if you're doing mass upgrading. So the idea is cool, but they need a way for it to be a little bit faster. We have special moves here. So in the past Pirate Warrior games, you had like just a standard R1 attack, right? You press R1 and it would use the character's unique action, and every character had one of those, or maybe multiple. They had like little variations, like Tashigi could do like 3 different moves depending on the input of your R1, but basically it's one move. But they changed that in this game. In this game, they turned R1 into like a full selection of options, pretty much. And they not only turned it into certain options, but they've also condensed other mechanics in. So in previous games, you had like an Awakening or Kizuna Rush or something like that. That actually counts within this R1 skill tree now. So now you have to equip your Awakening or your Burst or whatever you want to call it. You know, they've used Awakening is probably the most common name that they've used across the most Muso games. You know, you have like your Muso special attacks, like where you normally had to fill up the Muso bar, press like circle to do like a super powered attack. They have these in here as well. So instead of having like Muso bars and Awakening bars, everything's condensed into this new R1 system. So you can choose from an assortment of abilities that range from buffs, healing, just standard like attacks. Maybe not so standard, they're called special attacks. And your Muso attacks. And you can kind of cancel into these at any point throughout your strings. So in between your standard square and triangle strings, let me actually show you those right now. So you can see these are like your various strings. You have your normal attacks, your charge attacks, and you also have air attacks. That's one of the new mechanics in this game is air combat, which I'll go over that when we actually get into the gameplay. But yeah, you have your standard string system that you've seen in every Muso game since the beginning, and they have like these little icons here for various properties, like you can hold the button to power it up, some knock away, some cause status effects, stuff like that. It's standard Muso, but this is like one of the more unique and different things from previous Pirate Warriors games is that you now equip 4 R1 abilities. And then you have your skill system, which is once again very similar to previous Pirate Warriors. You have a certain amount of skill slots, and you can equip whatever skills you want. Some skills take 1 slot, some take 2, some take 3. So let's just jump into a mission and talk about some of the mechanics. So you have your standard square and triangle attacks. Pretty ordinary Muso stuff, but the new thing in this game is air combat. So you can jump and do a variety of strings. Some characters have like strings, some characters just have 1 or 2 attacks like older Musou games. You can also jump cancel in the middle of attacking to get a special launch attack, which brings enemies airborne so that you can actually do air combos on them. And that's one of the biggest additions to the combat here is the air combat. And the air combat's actually, it's really cool and it's nice, but it does have like a little wonkiness to it. There's some getting used to it, and there's just some design wonkiness to it, especially in combination with the new environments they have. Like, they have more dynamic and layered environments, so sometimes you can get yourself caught in like really crazy camera situations or getting caught up on environment and stuff like that. But overall, it's pretty cool, and if they just refined it a little bit, it would definitely just be nothing more than an amazing addition. But right now, it's still a great addition. It just has like a couple little flaws. One of the new things they have is the power dash. So they had a dash system in older games, but the dash system was not, it's a little different. So in Power Wars 1 through 3, when you pressed X was the standard dash button, you could dash any direction you wanted. Like if you held back, you would go back. If you held to the side, you would go to the sides. And when you did the dash, there's a few properties to it. You would have invincibility frames, which means you can go through enemy attacks. So if you see an enemy about to attack, you can dash and go through it. Or you could just move back. So you could move out of the way, or you could go through the attack with invincibility frames, or just moving a certain direction. And you also had a mechanic called dodge offset, which is like something that became really big with an action game called Bayonetta, if anybody's familiar with that. But dodge offset, what it does is it allows you to dodge in the middle of a string, and after the dodge, if you input an action, you will continue from the same point in the string before you dodged. So that's how the dodge system worked in 1 through 3. In this game, it's completely different. The dash mechanic only goes forward. It goes forward, and you can steer it like to the left or to the right a little bit, but it goes the direction your character is facing. You can no longer dash back by holding back and stuff like that. So this is like kind of awkward in some ways because it makes your defensive options way more limited. The dash in this game is more focused on just keeping relentless pressure. It allows you to just stay very offensive, but it's not that good for defense. Like in order to use it defensively, you have to use it like really, you gotta get a little crafty or creative with it, I guess you could say. Like you just gotta kind of dash to the side and go like way off track of the enemy and stuff like that. But defensive options in this game they're kind of not as good. Yo, what's up, Nick? Yeah, I'm definitely gonna play Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's gonna be playable in like an hour actually. I might stream it, we'll see. But yo, okay, so what was I saying? Okay, so I was saying the dash is kind of hard to use defensively, right? You don't have, so to me that, I don't know how I feel about that. I think they could have still kept the directional dash in this game and still kept it how it is now. Like it has homing properties. So let me kind of show you some of these homing properties that it actually has. Oh, I gotta find like an actual boss enemy. Alright, so I hope this guy doesn't die too fast. So when you dash, it'll go towards the enemy. It'll constantly go towards the enemy. So if you see like right there, if you're not holding a direction and you dash, you'll kind of homing in on the enemy. It's kind of like some DBZ homing dash kind of stuff, I guess you could say. So I feel like they added that so that it's easier for the air combat. The air combat's very wild, so they kind of added that homing dash so that it's easier to like keep track of everything that's going on. Because if you didn't have a homing dash and you actually had to like aim all this, it's just it's kind of hard to think about. Which honestly, I was kind of doing that at first because I didn't know if you kept the stick in neutral, it would like home. So I actually played for a while like always holding a direction. It was really weird. But the dash system in this game is, in my opinion, kind of nerfed from previous games because you lack defensive options. You don't have invincibility frames anymore. You do not have dodge offset anymore. in exchange, it's more offensive. So I think if they did like a sequel to this game, they have to refine the dash, give you directional dashing. I would love to see Invincibility Frames be standard. Like Sky types have Invincibility Frames, and you can equip a skill that gives you Invincibility Frames, but normally you don't have Invincibility Frames on your Power Dash. And dodge offset is something I'd like to see come back as well. So that's definitely a big deal in the combat. Like the combat got super like offensive, and it took all of the defensive play out of it. And all the offensive additions are great. Refine the defense, and you have literally a perfect game. So next up, the maps here. As you can see, like the maps are a lot more layered. There's staircases, stuff like this. I mean, there was some slopes and stuff in previous games, but it was very limited. But in this game, you actually have like a lot of like layering in the stage design. You have destructible environments, which can make things a little chaotic. Now, the only bad thing about the stage design is that it gets a little cramped sometimes, so you get really awkward camera situations. Now, one of the good things about the older Pirate Warrior games is the stages, they were nice and open. You know, they kind of looked a little boring because they were more boxed and open, but it helped for the gameplay. So in this game, you know, like the stages, you know, you have these tight alleyways and stuff like this, and it creates situations where the camera just gets a little wild, especially when you're actually fighting. So, you know, it's give and take. We got better, like, more detailed level design, but it does get in the way of the gameplay sometimes. So it's a mixed bag. But overall, I do like that they actually have more detailed level design. Let's see, mechanic-wise. So I was talking about R1s in the menu, but let me just kind of show. When you use an R1, so I used my R1 plus triangle. You see it's dark now. The way it works is it's a meter-based attack. All of your R1s are meter-based. And in order to get meter back, you have to attack enemies or you have to be attacked. So it's kind of like if you've played a fighting game or something before, it's like a super meter resource. It doesn't just come back over time. Like, let's say if you played Berserk, in Berserk, it was on a timer. So in Berserk, if you used a skill, you had to wait like 5 seconds or 3 seconds or something like that for it to come back. In this game, it's like based on a resource, which I think it's better that way, because in Berserk you would just run away until you got your cooldowns back. And I think it works fine. I'll tell you where I am disappointed. I did talk about earlier how they condensed Awakening and specials into this R1 system. Now, the Muso special attacks is kind of okay, because, you know, sometimes you need them, sometimes you don't. You know, they're a mixed bag, but your Awakening system is one of your R1s now, and that's a problem, because this game is so built around the Awakenings. The Awakenings are what literally let you tap into your character's most unique traits. You have, I actually should have talked about that earlier, but they have character typings in this game, which is, they've had in other Muso games, you know, like Dynasty Warriors, but they've never had it before in Pirate Warriors. So you have speed type, power type, you have tech type, you have sky type. And in order to tap into like the full potential of your character's typing, you have to go into the Awakening mode. But the Awakening mode is one of the 4 R1 abilities you can pick. Actually, let me get out of this. I shouldn't be in story mode anymore. So I think that the R1 system is cool, but they kind of got a little cheap with it, and they put things that you actually need as separate mechanics in there. That's where they messed up. So it's a cool concept. It's the same with the Power Dash, right? It's a cool concept that they have added, but they took something away to add it. So honestly, this is a theme within Pirate Warriors 4 that I'm gonna kind of especially go over at the very end, is that they took things away for seemingly no reason to add something that is pretty nice. So I think, like, I want to say, like, if they make a sequel and they bring back the things they took out, then you got a perfect game. So let me kind of... So this is the treasure log, and treasure log is very much the same as Dream Log from Pirate Warriors 3. It's just more kind of condensed into a little menu format instead of like the little fancy map thing. But you got a lot of cool missions here. You can play everything online. I want to mention that right now, is that you can play everything in this game online. In the past games, you couldn't always play everything online. So that's one of the cool bonuses, is you can do online, and not only can you do everything online, but you have like even 4-player missions, which is really cool. This is honestly like my favorite thing to do in this game, is the 4-player missions. I do it all the time. But you know, the treasure log is pretty cool. They simplified it a little bit so that you can actually see what coins you're going to get. You can see the rewards, you can see the level of the mission, you can see the rewards you're going to get. So there's like less random factor from the previous game, which is good and bad. It's good because you know what you're going to get. It's bad because it limits the replay value. You just have to beat the missions once and that's it. Maybe in Power Wars 3 you had to do a little extra because there was some randomness. But yeah, to me this is a direct upgrade. I want to say content-wise in this game, it's a 100% direct upgrade to Pirate Warriors 3. Like if you look at the content that Pirate Wars 3 had and the content that Pirate Wars 4 had, Pirate Wars 4 has basically the same content, but it does it better. Now, I think they should have had like one more extra mode. They could have added like one more side mode. I think they should have had that for sure. Maybe they'll add something later on through an update or DLC, but I feel like they should have tried to add one more extra side mode. Even though the content here is better than Pirate Warriors 3, it feels like they did the bare minimum in a way, right? They made it better in like the bare minimum fashion. The 4-player maps and the online is all cool though. I do like them a lot. So let me just get back into a mission. As you can see, I have all my characters here. Let me just stick with Luffy because he's got a lot of different things that I can talk about. But let me actually go into the... Yeah, so here we go. We have our fighting styles. We have power type. So power types, when you hit an enemy by smash, hits the floor or wall or shockwave, they're pretty simple. Like power types are just... they deal more damage. There's not like much intricacy to them. Speed types, they use less stamina, which lets you be a little more dash happy with them. They're definitely like the characters where you're gonna use a lot of power dashing for comboing and moving and stuff like that. Technique type characters are... I don't know how to describe them, to be honest. They have this weird follow-up attack off of their charges, but it's not like a good enough follow-up to even... I don't know, it's not even a good follow-up for most characters. Like I think maybe Boa Hancock has a good follow-up and that's it. The rest of them kind of suck. But the main thing with technique types is usually when they go into full force burst, they power up their special traits. So like Kuzan can freeze enemies on every single hit and stuff like that. And then we have Sky type. So Sky type is like probably the most interesting type in this game because not only is it just something we've never seen in a Musou game before, but it's also playing on the new combat mechanic in this game, which is air combat. So Sky types, when they're in the air, they use less stamina, stuff like that. But when they go into full force burst, they're gonna be in the air non-stop, which is like a good and a bad thing because you actually lose access to all of your ground options. And for some reason, Sky types have moves that can only be used on the ground, like special moves, R1 moves, besides their standard strings, which is really weird. I don't know why they did it, but they did it, and you know, they need to fix it. To me, that's like bad game design. I know maybe they want to say that maybe these attacks are kind of strong, because there are some ground-only attacks for them that are really strong, but it's like if you're gonna try to spend most of your time in burst and you're gonna be stuck in the air, you might as well just design the characters to play entirely in the air. So that's about it. Honestly, I've really went over most everything I can here. I'll play like some missions and talk about some elements as I'm playing a mission, but before I do that, let me give you the gist of everything going on here. So Pirate Warriors 4, content-wise, it's the best game in the Pirate Warriors series. The story mode is the best in my opinion. Like the battles are actually really epic. Marineford was epic. All of it's epic. Like the level design looks better. The actual contents of the missions is better. There are less arcs, but the arcs are more detailed. I know there's a lot of complaints, especially from like diehard One Piece fans, that there's less arcs, but to me, I think it's better to do things quality rather than quantity. And like Pirate Warriors 3, they had a lot of arcs, but it was really boring, in my opinion. The story mode was actually really fun here. Now, you know, like Treasure Log is a direct upgrade from Dream Log. The characters, there's more characters in this game. They did cut some characters from 3, but they added more than they cut. So the roster here is amazing. Everybody's still 100% unique. They do have like the Vinsmoke characters, which have kind of a little bit of mix between their movesets, but they're still very different from each other. still unique. So this game still holds on to its one very distinct quality that other Musou games don't really have anymore, which is really detailed and unique characters. There's no recycled anything. You know, Dynasty Warriors has gone down the recycling path, or you have games like Warriors of Orochi, where even though the characters are unique, they have a lot of recycled mechanic design. Like Warriors of Orochi 4 had Sacred Treasures, which is recycled across everybody, and it kind of homogenizes their gameplay. So there's none of that here. The typing system does kind of create a homogeneous effect, and the way the power dash works, it does kind of create a homogeneous effect compared to Pirate Warriors 3. But I think that overall the game still maintains like its super unique design that to me is like one of the signature elements of Pirate Warriors. It's what makes Pirate Warriors better than most other Musou games today, is because of how unique all the characters play. You know, the gameplay is just fun. It's good, fun gameplay. It's the same thing that it's the reason the previous Pirate Warrior games were fun, because the gameplay is just a lot of fun. It's, you know, adrenaline pumping. It's simple but intricate in certain ways. It's just a lot of fun, right? Like you turn this game on, you play it, you have a good time. That's about it, really. I mean, and they don't have a lot of design that gets in your way of that. You know, sometimes these Musou games get a little crazy. Whereas Orochi 4 has so much dialogue in its missions that sometimes you just have to stand there for a long time waiting for a gate to open. They don't have that here. None of that. Everything's just fast. Everything's flows. It feels good. You just turn a game on, you play it, you have a good time. It's simple Musou. Like, keeping it simple is really important for Musou. You have to keep it simple, but you still have to have like enough technical flavor and intricacy in it so that it keeps you addicted and keeps you coming back. And that's what Pirate Warriors has done really well. It has the perfect balance of technical and simplicity. Compared to Pirate Warriors 3, this is what people ask me, is what do I think about this game compared to Pirate Warriors 3? In my opinion, they are, I want to say they're even, right? And there's two reasons I'm going to say they're even. Pirate Warriors 4 is better on a technical aspect. However, Pirate Warriors 4 is better on a technical aspect. But Pirate Warriors 3, but they took away some mechanics, right? They took some mechanics out from 3, which I feel like if they bring those back, then Pirate Warriors, like, I don't know if they're going to do Pirate Warriors 4 Ultimate or Pirate Warriors 5, but if they bring them back, then it'll make it a better game. But Pirate Warriors 3 still has elements that are unique to it, and that I think shouldn't have been removed. And I think that, like, for how long we waited between 3 and 4, they didn't do enough. They didn't add enough, like, new... They could have added another side mode, like I mentioned earlier. They could have did a little bit more. But that's not to say what they did is bad. It's just that, you know, if you look from Pirate Warriors 1 to 2 to 3, these games came out really fast, and each one was just better than the other. There were little things that changed or got left behind, but, you know, the thing is we had to wait a really long time between 3 and 4, and I would say that 4 didn't do... it doesn't feel like it did enough to justify the time, but it's still great. Don't get me wrong, it's still great. And... you know, I know there's a lot of people that are bothered by cut arcs, cut characters, stuff like that. You know, that's always disappointing, but I feel like they do this to maintain quality. This is really important because, and we have plenty of examples to look at. We look at Dynasty Warriors 9. That game was a travesty because it tried to keep everything. It tried to have every single character had their own campaign. You know, the game was a disaster. Warriors of Orochi 4 tried to have every single character ever, and that game was it's a disaster. So you gotta look at it. They cut arcs and they cut characters in Pirate Warriors 4, but that's because they're trying to maintain some quality here. And we've seen what happens when they try to do everything. When you try to do too much, you're gonna damage the quality. And if Pirate Warriors quality ever gets damaged for the sake of quantity, that's it. That's it. In my opinion, that's it. Take what you get, keep the quality. Because Pirate Warriors is all we got left right now. If you're like a Musou diehard, you know what I'm talking about. Now, specifically if you're a One Piece fan, then I mean I can kind of understand where you're coming from, but the thing is, like, I'm a Muso fan first before I'm a One Piece fan. So I've seen Muso when it tries to do too much, and that's not a good look. It's not a good look, guys. But that's about it. Pirate Warriors 4, to me, let me rate. If I rate this game on a 5-point scale, I'm gonna give this game. I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5. Right? It's not perfect. It's very close, but I think it's great. I think if they had the things, if they didn't take out certain things, and maybe they did a little bit more, it'd be a 5. I would say 4.5 out of 5. And I think it's completely even with Pirate Warriors 3. Even though I think this is the game to be playing right now, I don't see myself going back to Pirate Warriors 3 anytime soon, but I do think that based on like the time gap and how good Pirate Warriors 3 when it came out, I feel like the games are pretty even. And that's it. I hope you all enjoyed that review and my opinion on this game, because I know people have been asking that for the longest time. So now, if anybody has questions in the chat, you can ask me right now. If there's questions about this game that or things you want to like hear my opinion on, let me know. This is the time. So let me. I see people talking about how they cut characters. So let me talk about let me follow up on cut characters. So you have to think about one thing in this game. They changed the combat completely. This isn't like when Pirate Warriors 1 to 2 to 3 used the same exact combat mechanics and engine. Pirate Warriors 4 is completely different. They changed all the mechanics. So when the characters that got cut sort of for, they got cut because they had to decide, do we want to do more new characters or do we want to rebuild old characters to work in this new engine? So you have to look at it that way. That's the only reason they would cut characters. They didn't cut characters in the past games because the past games were basically just cut and paste from game to game with very minor changes. In Pirate Warriors 4, Luffy in Pirate Warriors 3 and Luffy in Pirate Warriors 4 are two different characters. They had to like rebuild some elements of their gameplay, give them air combat, stuff like that. Yo, what's up, SoFly? Why do you think the game's combat is even remotely okay compared to the control and finesse of past games? Why? Let me read this one more time. Why do you think this game's combat is even remotely okay compared to the control and finesse? That's a good question. So this right here is a really powerful question. And why do I think this game's okay? It's just a lot of fun. I will tell you this. This game lacks finesse. It lacks control and finesse compared to 3 or previous games in general. But it's fun. So, I don't know. That's basically the reason I would say it's okay. The combat here is like, I want to say in some ways it's kind of a hot mess, but it's a fun hot mess, right? You gotta look at that. At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, are you having fun? I'm having fun. Maybe some people aren't. I have heard some people say that they don't really like this combat compared to 3, which is fair. I can understand why, because the combat in 3 was very refined, very tight. It was very intricate. And it got a little wild here. It got like a little loose and wild and all over the place. But it's still fun. So that's my answer to the question. It's able to be comparable just sheer for fun factor. Even though the depth is different, the technicals are different, it's still fun. Your take on Pirate Warriors 4 longevity, do you think it will age well? Do I think Pirate Warriors 4 will age well? I think it's gonna... That's a good question. Now, they're gonna give post-game support. We get DLC characters, we get possibly other updates. Do I think people are gonna be as engaged in this game as long as previous games? No, I don't. I think a lot of us, myself included, have already just like blazed through this game 100%, probably got platinum trophy. like I'm kind of getting burnt out on the game. However, I'm not gonna. However, I loved every second I've been playing. You know, I've been playing probably like 200, around 200 hours now. Between 150 200 hours, and I've loved every second of it. But I don't know if I'm gonna play this game as long as I played Pirate Warriors 3. I don't know if it has like the same immersion factors 3 did for me at least. But yeah, it's still good. That's like the thing. I see another message in here. Pirate Warriors 3, or sorry, Pirate Warriors 4 is mostly a different game. So I actually talked about this pre-release. If you had heard any of my discussion pre-release, basically this is my opinion. Pirate Warriors 4 is not Pirate Warriors, right? It says Pirate Warriors on the box, it has the characters, but they changed all of the gameplay elements to the point that it's not actually Pirate Warriors. It's not Pirate Warriors in the sense of like like having similar mechanics. So this is like a really deep discussion we could have about this topic, but basically it's called Pirate Warriors 4, but they changed everything that the previous games had, and it's technically not Pirate Warriors besides the fact that it's still based around One Piece. To me, this could have been a separate game. It didn't have to replace what the first 3 games established to exist. This could have been like a different non-One Piece game, or I don't even know. They could have kept Pirate Warriors going the way it was going, and they could have made this like as a separate thing. That's from the Muso perspective. But here we are. They did say one of the reasons they did this is because they wanted to kind of freshen the series up. They wanted to bring like something new and different into it, which I can understand. If you do the same thing for too long, people get tired of it. But there's a special case with Pirate Warriors, because Pirate Warriors was basically like, okay, so the best Muso game before this game was Pirate Warriors 3, and that came out like 5 years ago, right? So we had to wait 5 years to get another good Warriors game. That's a long time. So if you think that we had to wait that long, I mean, we had a couple of okay Warrior games. I'm not gonna bash all the Warrior games that came out in between 3 and 4, but it's been a long time since I've personally been addicted to a Warriors game. All right, let me see. I'm just looking at these comments right now. The Dragon Quest games? Yeah, I see a mention about the Dragon Quest games. Are the Dragon Quest games actually Muso? Yes and no. They're not really Muso, but they have the Muso combat. It's like the same thing that Persona 5 Scramble is doing. It's more of an action RPG, but it has Muso combat. The Dragon Quest games are great though. I don't know if I want to call them Muso though. So I'm seeing a lot of similar combats comments and stuff in here. So I think Pirate Warriors 4 did a lot. They did a lot, and luckily the game's still a lot of fun. So basically my dream is if they make Pirate Warriors 5, they bring back dodge offset, they bring back directional dodging, they give you invincibility frames on your dash, they fix up the air combat a little bit, they let sky types actually touch the ground so they can use all their moves. Actually, let me talk about the armor system in this game. I did not talk about this. I should have talked about this. But let me get into a mission. They changed the the stun mechanic in this game. So you all know how like they actually have a little armor bar under their health bar now. In Pirate Warriors 1 through 3, that didn't exist. They had like a hidden stun system. So basically, if you hit enemies with specific attacks or you hit them enough in succession, you would stun them. And once you stun them, you had to do like a proper juggle combo on them, or keep them in like a series of hits, or they would fall out of the stun. Now, there was a lot of I don't know. Basically, the stun system in the previous games was more of a proper combo system, whereas in this game, you have to break the armor, which is really awkward because they changed some of the mechanics here, like the R1s. Like a lot of characters could use R1 cancels and stuff to help them break armor easier, or certain attacks were just designed to stun enemies, whereas in this game, you don't really have dodge offset. You don't have the usable, like the R ones you can use anytime, and you don't have attacks that are just straight up made to break the armor. So the whole the armor versus the stun system is, I think the stun system was way better. It was more skill based. The armor system here is like just really obnoxious almost, because your characters won't always have good ways to deal with the armor. And once you break the armor, I don't know, the armor, okay, so when you break the armor, the enemies can burst out of combos now, but there's no indicator of when they burst. In the previous games, you knew when they were going to burst. They will burst when they recover from a combo, or they will burst once their health bar reaches like a certain segment. That's not how it works in this game. The enemies will just burst like whenever they feel like it. It's really obnoxious, actually. So, the armor system in this game, I don't like as much as the stun system in the previous games. And yes, Logias are, oh my gosh. Yeah, Logias are a big problem in this game. Also, let's talk about another thing with enemy design. So in the past, in Pirate Wars 1 through 3, they had things like the blue aura, right? When you're attacking the enemy over and over, they would bring up a blue aura. So basically, that was like a counter. If you kept hitting them after they brought up the blue aura, then it would repel you and knock you back and leave you open. So the point of that was so you weren't button mashing, right? It was to keep your mind like paying attention to the gameplay. So you're attacking, you see the blue aura, and then you dash into it to break it. So it's keeping you like engaged in the gameplay, because you have to not just mash attack over and over. You know, they took the blue aura out of this game, so now you do just smash attack. It's harder to see the enemy's attacks now because, you know, there's so much chaos going on. So it's harder to dodge moves in this game. It's harder to react. It's like the offense and defense in this game is really bad. Basically, there's no defense in this game. This game is like 100% like pure offense. Like that's all this game is, because they've nerfed the defense side of the game. They've just taken it out completely. So that's like the thing in the older games is there was like a really smooth balance between offense and defense mechanics and counter mechanics that made the gameplay more skill-based and more involved, in my opinion. Now it's just like, I don't know, you just kind of go ham and hope everything works out. Yo, what's up, Eric? What do you think if Pirate Wars 4 had an original story like Pirate Wars 2? I think original stories in anime games are better than repeated stories. Like Attack on Titan 2, for instance, it was like a mix of original and the actual story. I think original story in an anime game is better. That's just my opinion, because if you're playing an anime game, if you're playing an anime game, it's for two reasons, right? You like the anime, which means you already know what's going to happen. Or you've never seen the anime, which means why would you want this to be your first experience to like the anime, right? Because it's always going to be butchered. They're going to butcher it. They're going to leave a lot of key details out. So it's like, make an original story. It's good for players who are fans because they get to see something different. It's good for players who are not fans because they're not going to just see like a butchered version of the actual story. So I think original stories are better than just copying this story. That's purely my opinion, though. Some people may have certain feelings about that. Yo, what's up, everybody? I see you in there, Indra. Let me read some comments again. I see some mentions about how they should have skipped pre-time skip. I mean, that makes sense. One Piece, it seems like at this point, pre-time skip doesn't even make sense anymore, right? Not that it's bad. I mean, pre-time skip's still important to One Piece world, but they have a lot of like time skip content they could cover. I'm seeing all this Logia suffer in here. Yeah, it's pretty rough. When you're playing as them, it's the best experience in your life. But when you're when you're fighting against them, it's really bad. but it is what it is. So it is what it. Pirate Warriors 4 is a great game though. I love it. I'm happy that they were able to change so much and still keep the game fun. It's a different kind of fun from the previous games, but it's still fun. And they have a lot of things they gotta fix when they make the next game or the next update. If they do that, they got a perfect game. It's that simple. Yo, okay, hold on. There's something I didn't talk about. Giants. They added giant characters to this game. Yo, alright, so let me talk about giants for a second. I understand that giants is a part of One Piece. It's, you know, there's giant characters in One Piece. What can you do about it? And there's a lot of cool characters that are giants in One Piece. But from a gameplay perspective, giants ruin this game. Yo, what's up, Cyan? Thank you. Giants ruined this game. They're the worst. They're the absolute worst thing about this game, in my opinion. It was a bad idea. You know, Whitebeard used to. You know, they were smart in older games, right? Because Whitebeard was more of a normal-sized character. Was it canon? No. Did it make for good gameplay? Yes, it did. What did they do here? They made giant characters, and the giant characters, they're unbalanced. They're not good for multiplayer. They knock the enemies higher than the other characters can reach. So, like, if you're like little Luffy down here, and here comes Kaido, boom, flips all the enemies like 1,000 feet in the air. You can't do anything. So the online is ruined because you go into a room, there's 3 other Kaido players, and you're playing as freaking Frankie or something. it's like, bro, what do I do now? It's this, you know, it's cool. It's cool, but it's not good for the gameplay. I don't know how they're going to balance it, because I can tell at this point they're going to keep running with giants. Not only are they going to keep running with them, but they're going to keep adding a lot more giants. So giants are probably here to stay, and I don't really have a good idea of how they can fix them. I mean, to me, I would just make them all small, you know? Is it canon? Is it lore? No. But for the gameplay, can we make Kaido like a lot smaller? Please? It's a shame you can upgrade characters without playing them. Alright, that's something you can definitely talk about too. In Pirate Warriors 3, you had to actually play as the character to get their level break moveset, which was like from level 50 to level 70, I think 69. Something really awkward like that. But yeah, in this game, I just picked Katakuri, and I got basically maxed everybody out, right? Yo, I was just complaining about giants. Is Katakuri a giant? Can someone in the chat tell me if Katakuri's a giant? I mean, he ruins the game like giants, so I don't even know why I'm asking this question. But Katakuri is my favorite character in this game, but he's also like kind of a giant, right? So I don't know what to do. Like, I'm in trouble. I just said I hate giants and they shouldn't be in this game, but my favorite character is a giant. And even if he's not technically a giant, he still ruins the game in the same way the giants do. So I don't know. He's got giant energy. So he's not technically a giant, so everybody thinks he's not technically a giant, but he does still ruin the gameplay the same way giants do. Actually, he can probably ruin the gameplay even more, because his whole moveset, he's like lunging forward every attack, so, you know, he'll come through like doing his square string, and he'll just like swoop all the enemies out of the way from the other players and stuff. So he still ruins the game in the same way, but I'm not gonna lie, like, Katakuri, to me, he's got the coolest character design. I love his backstory. I love his gameplay. So I'm living a conflicting life right now. Like, I'm living a lie. I love what I hate. I hate what I love. Do you think they're gonna do gameplay updates like fixing Law's triangle room from not disappearing after dash? I think they are. I do think they are. I feel like the chance of them doing balance patches, adding new content and stuff is 100% likely, especially because of the DLC characters. When the DLC characters drop and they don't add new content, what are you gonna do? You're gonna go like play online for like 2 maps and then you're gonna turn the game off. They gotta add new stuff. That's just bottom line. There's no way the like 9 DLC characters is gonna work if they don't actually add content. You know, in Fire Emblem Warriors, they added 3 new characters and they added maps with the new characters, so you add new content to play. So they gotta do the same thing here. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If they don't do it, then what's the point of the characters? There's no point to the characters. They didn't fix things in Pirate Warriors 3 because you have to think about Pirate Warriors 3. It was a PS3 game. Pirate Warriors 3 was a PS3 game that got ported to PS4. Back then, they weren't really updating games like that. This is a different time. Now, yes, balance patches, updates happen a lot. So it's a different time. Pirate Warriors 3 didn't get DLC, it didn't get updates, but that was also a PS3 game. It's the standard now. It's a standard for Muso games, it's a standard for Namco Bandai games, you know, Xenoverse getting updates, One Punch Man, Sword Art Online, every game's getting updates. It's a standard now, so they have to do it here. I'm saying they have to, I mean, technically they don't have to, but if they don't, then they're gonna mess up. So if they don't add new stuff, then they've messed up. Yo, what's up, Jay? You're the real homie too. Thank you so much. I think I've definitely talked about it a lot. I might have to stop the stream because actually Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming out in 30 minutes and I want to get ready for that. I don't know if you all want to see me stream that game or not, but I'm playing it whether I play it on or off stream. But yeah, I think I've talked about most things here. Actually, let me talk about one more thing. Let me talk about one thing, because someone brought up Law. So, Trafalgar Law. Right. Or a lot of characters in this game. When they transitioned from Pirate Warriors 3 to Pirate Warriors 4, when they transitioned from Pirate Warriors 3 to Final Fantasy... Alright guys, you see where my mind's going right now? Alright, so there are certain characters, right? There are certain characters, like Trafalgar Law is one of them. He got nerfed. So in Pirate Warriors 3 and 2, when you pressed R1, he would put his room out. And you could cancel in the middle of any of his strings to reposition his room. And you could dash away from his room and do all kinds of cool stuff with Law. In Pirate Warriors 4, you cannot do that anymore. Someone mentioned if you dash with Law, his room disappears. You cannot lay your room mid-combo to reposition it because, you know, enemies get knocked all around. You need to reposition your room to keep your combo strings going properly. So that's one example. There's a lot of characters there's a lot of the old characters that came to Pirate Warriors 4 and they got nerfed hardcore. Nami got nerfed because she could no longer do her little lightning on demand. I don't know, Law, like I said, Law got nerfed because he can't reposition his room. Any character that relied on their R1, Tashigi got nerfed. You know, Tashigi was literally, her entire character was built around her R1 in Pirate Warriors 3, and they nerfed it. Like, they removed it in Pirate Warriors 4, so Tashigi does not have any of her unique elements anymore, right? They have all the moves in the game, but they don't work the same. So they had characters that were literally built around the old R1 system, and the transition to Pirate Warriors 4 was not smooth. For some of these people, it wasn't smooth. Tashigi got hit. I would say Smoker kind of got hit. Kizaru lost his easy like repositioning. He's still strong, but Akainu, he didn't get. Honestly, Akainu, he made it good. He made it good, honestly, because he's probably even stronger here than 3. You know, Law, poor transition. Mihawk, oh my god, yo, Mihawk. Okay, so Mihawk is stronger in Pirate Warriors 4, but he sucks to play as because the way his charge mechanic works now. It's almost impossible to use his square string with the way enemies burst and all that. Doflamingo feels not too bad. His R1 wasn't that great. Crocodile lost his R1, which was so good in burst. His burst R1 was so good. Boa's R1 was whatever. Buggy's R1 was kind of whatever. Whitebeard's R1 was broken, but he's still broken, so it's all good. Marco got nerfed hard without his R1. His R1 helped him reposition his combos. Ace, yo, this man had a good R1, but he's living the life right now. He's busted. Shanks, his charge mechanic is harder to use now because of, but I don't know, he got a better turnout than Mihawk did, at least. Zoro's R1, does it even exist in this game? Like, Nami's decent in this game, but I don't think she's as good as she was in 3. I think she was actually a good character in 3. Like, I think people, like, slept on her in 3. She was actually, like, mid-level in 3. I think in this game, she's, like, a lower-end character. She's not terrible, but there's just so many better characters. Usopp kind of sucks in this game. Sanji's lost his R1, which was really good for him, but he's still not bad. You know, Chopper always sucked. Robin... Yo, Robin got... I mean, she's alright. She's not bad, but she lost dodge offset. I'm sure if any of you know, like, Robin used to be able to dodge and attack simultaneously. She can't do that anymore. I haven't even played Frankie yet. Literally haven't played this character. I'm afraid to play this character. Brooke sucks. Lucy... Okay, so Lucy is really good in this game, but his beast form... I don't know why... there's no point in it existing anymore, because he's a sky type. So he's good, but the whole, like, transformation element that made him, like, just extra cool in 3 is... It's... You don't really get to see much of it in this game. Kuzan got buffed. Man got buffed. What can I say? Sabo sucks. I mean, he's like the same, to be honest. He's just unimpressively the same. He's not good or bad, he's just... I don't know. He doesn't feel like anything good. I haven't played Ivan Cobb yet. The Vinsmokes are pretty cool, but they weren't in the old game. Yo, Fujitora, my man. Rest in peace. Kuzan was a big nerf, definitely not buff. I mean, if you say so. I feel like he's actually pretty good in this game, but I probably just wasn't actually good with him in Pirate Wars 3. In Pirate Wars 3, like, you had to play like a freaking mad scientist to make use of him. Like, in this game, he's just actually, like, he's kind of godlike to me, because everything's frozen all the time. But, I wouldn't say I was good with him in 3. I think, like, he required, like, way too much work in 3, where he doesn't really require much work in 4. Katakuri's triangle puts a little donut homing around the enemy, and that donut will poke, or the mochi, I don't know, is it donut or mochi? It pokes, it kind of, like, just hovers around the enemy, and it attacks them, like, in set intervals. It sucks. You shouldn't use it. It's a mochi donut, right? Is that a thing? A mochi donut? Yeah, man. I think Kuzan's a beast in this game. I don't know if he's a beast statistically, but he's a lot easier to play. I like him. Yo, Giants, you know, you're cool. You're so cool, but you ruined this game. That's about it. I think I'm gonna stop the stream right now because I gotta prep for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I need to go get some. I don't know. I need to get some snacks because it's gonna be a long night. Yo, we're gonna be playing this game for like 10 hours straight. But yeah. thank you so much for joining me for this review. This ended up being really long, but it's going to be a stream VOD. If you guys missed the beginning of it, you can go see the beginning. Pirate Warriors 4 is hype. It just has some flaws that they gotta fix in the update in the next game. Peace. I'll see y'all in a bit.